So welcome to another kit of the month. Let's get in here and get one. My heavy one's in here, and we got this one, and it's got speakers. Let's have a look at this one. Okay. Have a look. Any identifying marks on this anywhere? Is there a schematic? Anything here? We got a PCB, a bag of parts, some wires, a cable, and two speakers that are very, very dented. Okay. I imagine this is some sort of amplifier. I have no idea where it came from, but we can always just go by the silk screen here and build it up, and then go look for it on the internet later. Seems that it has a single IC chip, which is probably an LM386. Let me verify that. No, it's a TDA2822, which is I think that's a dual amplifier. And very, very simple components. These are all the same value, 10K. Oh no, here's a couple here. Let's see what size are these. Looks like they're 4.7 ohms. Have a look at the board here. Yeah, 4.7 ohms, 4.7 ohms. The rest are 10K. All right, well, let's start building this. And we'll meet you back at the end unless something really interesting occurs. And it doesn't look like there's a heck of a lot that's going to occur that's interesting. So get my iron all warmed up here. Okay, iron's up to temperature. Got my solder. Got my tools, got my parts. All right, we'll start by putting in the resistors. They didn't supply a socket for the IC, so I went to get one of my own, and we'll just go ahead with that. So they're also short 1.1 UF capacitor here, 100 nanofarads. This one, the legs were too thick. The leads are too thick to fit in the holes. But luckily enough, I had this kind as well. right, we got it all soldered up. A couple of things I should mention. The board is really nice. It's got the pin spacing on it is wonderful. Pin spacing is just like a tiny bit narrower than what you would normally get, and what it does is it makes the components sit in there nicely until you solder them. So that's really good. The silk screen is well laid out. The board itself is well laid out. It's got thermal connectivity to the ground planes, which is really nice too. It's got these little strain reliefs in it for the cabling coming in and out of it. They didn't provide any cabling for the power unless did they make one of these things longer than the other? No, so I just assume that these are for the speakers. I guess this is quite a bit for the speakers, and you could have just used some of that, but I just put in a couple of extra wires I had lying around. Now, one thing they don't do is they don't mark the place where the power should go down the bottom. I think it's fairly obvious, but they could have at least put a little like a plus and a minus there just to make it easier to figure that out. And it didn't come with a socket. I had to get a socket, and is missing one of the capacitors. This is the one over here. So other than that, I think it's as a kit, it's a pretty easy, quick build. It's a fairly useful little device, a little stereo amplifier. So let's get the chip in it, and we'll try it out. Okay, that's in. Now I've got power come here. It says from 4.5 to 6 volts. I have currently 6 volts. I set the current limit on the power supply to 300 milliamps. I don't think it'll draw anywhere near that, but at least it won't cause things to explode too badly if something terribly goes wrong. And I'm going to use my phone as an input device here. I know the output on the phone is probably not going to be quite enough to drive it really well, but we'll see. Okay, and bonus, I built this little baffle for the speakers because I know how well these little speakers perform in free air. They just don't. So we'll put the speakers into the baffle. Try to get everything into the frame here. All right. There we go. And bring up my phone. Should be already kind of it needs to be. All right, here we go. It works. Both speakers are working. Actually, you know that those cones are moving quite a bit with the bass. There's quite a bit of bass there that they cannot reproduce. And please excuse me, I have either a cold or allergies right now, so I might be sniffling or sneezing or coughing in the background. All right, well that seems to work just perfectly. It's a little bit of distortion there, but I think this is driving the bass a little bit too hard. It's causing these little speakers this huge amount of, you can't see it, but I can feel it. There's a lot of cone excursion, which seems to coincide with the peak of the distortion. So driving some better speakers, this probably do a lot better. Well, let's go and see on the internet if we can find anything out about this kit. And let's have a look at the chip that they're using in it. And that'll wrap up this episode. Okay, so it seems I got that kit on eBay back in 2020, and the eBay seller isn't around anymore. That's too bad, but I did find it on Amazon at a much higher price than what I paid for it back in 2020. So I'll leave a link to it down there if you want. It is a nice little kit, but I don't know if it's worth $13 or $15 Canadian once they throw shipping in. Anyway, this is the chip that powers it, TDA2822M, a dual low voltage power amplifier. That's pretty neat that they can fit an entire stereo amplifier system into a single little 8-pin dip. And this was, as you can see here, is an obsolete product. And it looks like this was from back in 2003, back 20 years ago. So I guess this would have been about around the time of Sony Walkman CD players and stuff like that. So perhaps it was in those as a headphone amplifier. It says here, portable cassette players and radios. Very simple layout here. Supply voltage up to 15 volts, which is kind of strange because the board said on it 4.5 to 6 volts. And the add up on Amazon says up to 9 volts. Indeed, it looks like 15 volts is perfectly all right. Peak output current 1 amp. Yeah, so you're not going to be able to do that kind of power dissipation without providing some kind of heat sinking, which this little board doesn't have at all. I mean, none of the traces coming off the leads are heavy traces or anything like that. Quiescent output voltage, 2.7 to 1.2, so you need capacitors on the output. Quiescent drain current, 6 milliamps, and that is about right. When I turned the power on, that's what I saw. We were getting a little bit more distortion than that, I think, just from listening to it. But I think, again, it was the speakers that were mostly to blame for that. They were being driven pretty hard by the phone on the low end, and they're just not designed for that. And test circuit, stereo. That's pretty well the circuit that this amplifier has here. That's almost identical to it. They had this 10 UF capacitor was also 470, and they had a 0.1 across there as well. But other than that, it is almost exactly the circuit. You note that it can be used in bridge mode here. I guess that's how you can get the power up on it. But yeah, you're going to have to provide some heat sinking if you want all that power. That's it. Nice, simple little chip. I guess there must be something better out there these days, but I sometimes get it in the back of my head that manufacturers are targeting all the through-hole parts, which is going to make it tough for some people, in the hobby, because not a lot of people have the skills or even willing to develop the skills to solder some of the really tiny surface mount devices out there. So I don't know. It's a shame to see devices like this disappear, but I imagine there's enough of them out there in the wild. It remains to be seen. I've not had a hell of a lot of trouble finding older parts on the eBay market or someplace like that, but you never know what you're going to get, whether it's counterfeit or whatever. But in most cases, they seem to work well enough to suit my needs. Anyway, that's the chip, guys. So thanks a lot for coming out and joining me for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, we'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, try to do some electronics. Bye-bye now.